Hey guys, today we're gonna talk a little bit about team building in version 3.7 when it comes to the new characters that are gonna be released in the 3rd anniversary. Where do they gonna fit in? How can we slot them into teams? Where gonna be probably their best in slots, and so on and so forth. Before we're gonna hop in and start off, I wanna say thank you guys, because I even recently, just yesterday, before uploading the video about the drama stuff, right? I got approached with like, hey Storm, recently your community has really grown into something amazing. People seem to have really warmed up with you, and your comment sections and the discussions on the Discord server, everyone is like really uplifting, very funny and friendly, you know what I mean? Which is a very, very brilliant thing, and I absolutely do agree with that, especially now after seeing the responses and the feedback I got from something that is quite controversial and yeah, more on the negative side of things, and there could be some heated conversations about the topics in fact that we talked about. But the way you guys reacted to this and the feedback I got from this video really surprised me in a very, very positive way. Like, instead of being negative, instead of focusing on the negativity and being maybe even toxic about it and yada yada, you know, instead of that we had pretty much like really nothing of that at all. And instead you guys took it in a really cool and again really funny way. There are comments like this right here, like, oh yeah, let the losers be mad, you know what I mean? Or this one here, Reverse1999 drama wasn't on my bingo card for 2026, and oh boy, wait for the collaboration. I'm just kidding, you know? And a lot of people of you stepping in together with me, just like I did, to defend Blue Poch here from all of this negativity that, to be fair, came over from the Chinese community, right? The global community didn't start this stuff. But anyways, right, still the way we took this, or you guys took this, was absolutely amazing. Even people are in with my stupid Matilda joke, right? Check this one out here. Like, we have, oh, I'm so sad I missed a copy of Matilda, you know, or Matilda P3, let's go, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, and you see, that's what I mean, really. When I started off, and for a very, very long time, and over and over and over again, I was hit with a lot of like toxicity and negativity and everything, but we now are at a point where I can really say and confirm that, man, we grew into an absolutely amazing community, and I love you guys, and I'm very, very grateful, and I don't take it for granted that you stick around with me and hang out, because yeah, you guys are amazing, right? And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very, very much. Okay, now let's hop into the topic of today's video, which is team building with the 3 new characters, Rihanna, Coppelia and Mrs. Stranger, that all gonna be released on the 3rd anniversary in version 3.7. First, we're gonna talk about the new true limited character, Rihanna. Where does she fit? How could we use her? How should we use her? What is the recommended way here? Let's go over everything. We know already that she's gonna be, or she can be played in 5 different archetypes. Those are Blood Tide, Dynamo, Afterglow, Impromptu, and Instrument. Okay, let's go over every single archetype, look at the teams, and then yeah, go from there. Let's start off with playing Rihanna in Blood Tide. You, of course, right, needless to explain, you could do that. If you would want to play Rihanna in Blood Tide, who is gonna be the replacement there? We have Nautica and Semmelweis. Those two are partners in crime. They go together, they cannot be separated. Rihanna is not a sustain character, so Robushka stays where she is. That leaves Rihanna with the only slot. Spoiler alert, that is going to be the case for most of the teams that she's going to be played in. She's going to fill the support slot. So if you want to play Rihanna in Blood Tide, you're going to replace Sentinel there. Is that gonna be the recommended way? Is that gonna be her best in slot? No, right? Like, Bloodtide is fine as it is. Sentinel does not need to be replaced here at all, but you have to keep in mind that in version 3.7, you need to walk out of the 3rd anniversary there with a Bloodtide team established. That is the #1 highest priority. It's you're gonna establish yourself the Bloodtide team, which means you need either Robushka or Medicine Pocket. Robushka here is more recommended. You will need Nautica and Semmelweis, since you will, that is the highest priority, right? The second highest priority is of course to pull for the new true limited character Rihanna, and then you will see, like, hey, do I already had the Bloodtide team established? Do I already have Sentinel present in my lineup? If the answer is yes, you're gonna keep Sentinel in there. But if you don't have Sentinel, right? If you are like, if you don't play Bloodtide right now and you are grasping the pieces together here step by step and you don't have Sentinel or anything, then yeah, then you play Rihanna in Bloodtide, so that you are actually able and you have a complete Bloodtide team and you are able to play Bloodtide together with the Euphoria update for Nautica, right? That is gonna be the very highest priority. Is that truly her best in slot though? No, as I said, Sentinel does not need to be replaced. So Bloodtide, a possible choice for sure, you can play her there, but that is not going to be her best in slot, not going to be her best use. Okay, then we can move on to Dynamo. Here again, right, support slot is out of the question. Rihanna is not a sustain, so Enigma or Ezra or anyone else, skip Arena maybe, whoever you use here, it should be Enigma, stays where he is. Okay, then we have either the combo of Corvus and Brome. They gonna be partners in crime, they need to be stayed together, they will not be separated. Same scenario occurs for Lucy and Ulrich. These two partners in crime, they shall not be separated. It is not an option, not a good way to slot in Rihanna here for either your main or your sub DPS. It's not gonna happen, right? Again, the only viable slot that she could be slotted in here is the support slot, but you know how important and how busted Sharon is in a Dynamo lineup, right? You could go as far and say, if you don't have Sharon, don't play Dynamo. That's how incredibly good Sharon is. Do you want to replace Sharon with Rihanna, with anyone? No, you absolutely don't want to do that. So in Dynamo, I cannot recommend playing Rihanna at all, right? Bloodtide, again, possible. Dynamo, nah, don't do that. That would be winging it a little bit too much. Okay, then we have a follow-up attack team here. Rihanna is not a follow-up attack kind of character, so that is out of the question. You could go here and say, maybe you replace Featherpatch or anything, but no, don't even think about that. Okay, then we have Afterglow, Beryl, Isolde, Lawrence, and Marsha. What is going on here? I actually I'm hit up with the question a lot of, hey, now that we have Rihanna, does that mean I could actually invest more Unilogs into version 3.4 right now? Because I can skip Lawrence, as I will pull for Rihanna anyways, and then I can play her in Afterglow instead of Lawrence. Is that a good idea? I would say no, that is not necessarily a good idea. To me, Lawrence Butterfly is, if you play Afterglow, right, if you have Beryl and Marsha, then Lawrence Butterfly is a must pull. I would not skip her at all. It is possible though, of course, right? Rihanna is an Afterglow kind of character. She can be played in this lineup, absolutely. So it is a possibility. It is just, not the recommended way. I would not recommend you to play Rihanna in Afterglow either, because Lawrence Butterfly is too powerful to, like, you don't need to replace that, and you should pull for that, honestly. If you really would want to play Rihanna in Afterglow though, no matter what, I would recommend you, as it always goes, to replace the weakest piece of the team, and that would go to Isolde. So if you really are I will play Rihanna in Afterglow no matter what, yeah, then you should actually replace Isolde and not skip Lawrence Butterfly there either. Okay, that's it gonna be for the Afterglow lineup. Now we're gonna head into Impromptu, aka Planned Promptu, and here is where Rihanna starts to shine a little bit more, because here we have an easy no-brainer slot that is easily filled for Rihanna, and Mercuria is easily replaceable in this team, right? We already wing it with Mercuria here, because we would want to play Skipperina in the Barcelona lineup and start Promptu, you know. That's why we wing Mercuria in her. Now we could now get rid of Mercuria and put Rihanna into this team. That would be very, very beneficial, and that is actually the second best place you can put Rihanna in this game. Now there is a little bit of a caveat to this though, because if you play Planned Promptu already with Skipperina, right? If you don't play the Star Promptu, if you give up on this team and instead you use Skipperina and Planned Promptu, that makes it a little bit tougher to slot Rihanna into this team here. If you play the Planned Promptu with Skipperina, then I would not recommend you to fill in any slot here to replace anyone on this team with Rihanna either, you know. But yeah, just because it is not the true recommended way doesn't mean it is not an option, right? Keep that in mind. You can or could do that if you really wanted to. The true best in slot place for Rihanna in the version 3.7, the 3rd anniversary, is the brand new team built around Coppelia, which is called Instrument. Here you steal Regulus from the Star Promptu and you establish her second Euphoria that she will receive in the 3rd anniversary, and that turns her into an Instrument kind of character. Then you pair her with Coppelia and that's it. We don't have any other character in this game that is from the Instrument archetype. And looky look, here is where the Rihanna, the new True Limited character, comes in and fills the archetype. Now you're just gonna slot in a sustain of your choice here, and there we go. You can play the new archetype Instrument right out of the gate, right in the 3rd anniversary. And that's gonna be, at least for the time being, the best in slot for the character Rihanna. It's either gonna be Planned Promptu or Instrument. Unless, of course, you miss a piece for another team, you know what I mean? If you decide to skip Lawrence, yeah, then you play Rihanna in Afterglow. If you scramble together the pieces for Blood Tide and you don't have Sentinel, then you play Rihanna in Blood Tide, right? Needless to explain. Rihanna is here to fill the spot in case you, for the 5 archetypes that I mentioned earlier, miss a piece, or yeah, otherwise, if that's not the case, you play an Instrument, or you replace the weakest the weakest piece in a team, like it would be here with Sentinel, like it would be here with Isolde. Maybe you again try to skip Lawrence. Here you can place Mercuria in case you play Skipperina and Star Promptu, right? You get the point. Okay, we have then now covered where to play Rihanna, and also Coppelia that's a new archetype, that's Instrument, and she has to be played together with Regulus. And if you want to fill the team up, you do it with Rihanna, right? That is as easy as it gets. Now the 3rd character here with Mrs. Stranger. That is a little bit of a more complicated topic, because she can be slotted also into every single team. You can play her in every team. And for the most part, you have to be careful though, because for the most part, she is gonna be replacing a sub DPS. Any team that, if you would want to play a team, right, and you don't have the main DPS or the sub DPS, those are who Mrs. Grace is then gonna be replaced. Of course, you know me. If you don't have the main DPS, the best main DPS for the archetype that you want to play, I would recommend to you to not play this archetype at all. So you want to replace, in most cases, the sub DPS and slot in Mrs. Stranger there. You gotta be careful though, because that will not always be the case. For example, for Bloodtide, Semmelweis counts here as the sub DPS. You cannot remove Semmelweis from Nautica. That is impossible. You cannot do that. If you would do that, you would take the support slot again and get rid of Sentinel instead. That is something that you also could do. If you don't have Sentinel, you can play Mrs. Grace in here. Boom, no problem. Not the best choice because you fill the Bloodtide less. That's a little bit of a bummer. I mean, Nautica, Semmelweis, Robushka, they will get the job done, but yeah, it's gonna be a little bit rough. But you know, that is how it goes with slottable characters always, so it's gonna be fine. You're gonna get away with it. Here, Lucy, Ulrich, you don't wanna replace those either, right? You don't wanna separate those. That's the problem with slottable characters, you know, because they would especially when they are not slotted into the support slot, that's also a little bit of a problem, right? You should not get rid of Lawrence. You should never get rid of Flutterpage or Sharon. You know, the support slot is way too good for a slottable character to take place there. That's a big issue. And same goes for main and sub DPSs with Mrs. Stranger. You know, sub and main DPS, they go together. They are partners in crime and they don't want to be separated. So, but yeah, with that out of the way, you sometimes gotta do what you gotta do. So, where is Mrs. Stranger playable? Bloodtide, yeah. Replace Sentinel though. Dynamo, oh, I mean, yeah. Replace Ulrich there. Or yeah, even I wouldn't do it if you play Brume and Corvus. There I wouldn't do it. For Ulrich and Lucy, I would give you a pass and say, yeah, okay, play her in Dynamo, remove Ulrich. You know, if that would be really necessary. Here in follow-up, even though Mrs. Grace doesn't really have follow-up shenanigans, she is still a pretty good fit for this team nonetheless. So if you decide to skip Cheng, but you pull for Mrs. Stranger, yeah, you could play her here. You could play her here. Because you see, follow-up, they play a lot of cards. We have this AP +1, thanks to Flutterpage and everything. So we will play a lot of cards. And we will do enough damage with Liang alone, right? And Mrs. Grace or Mrs. Stranger also deals a lot of damage. So you would get away with it here. No problem whatsoever. So Mrs. Stranger and follow-up, sure. Don't replace Flutterpage though. That's the important note today. Don't replace Liang or Flutterpage, right? Fatutu, needless to explain. Okay, then Afterglow, yeah, sure. You can play Mrs. Stranger here as well. Why not? Get rid of Isolde. Get, yeah, rid of Lawrence. That would hurt a little bit. It's a possibility though, you know. Impromptu? No. That's the same scenario as Bloodtide. You do not want to get rid of Anan Lee and like remove her from Paper Heron's side. Especially not if you play Mercuria in this team as well. Like if you play this team with Skipperina instead, you could try it to get rid of Anan Lee. I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah, it's something. For that one, I would have to try it out myself first. But yeah, I would not recommend that either. You know what I mean? So you can already see that Mrs. Stranger has a rough time. If you're like a veteran and you already have a lot of teams like fully established, it's gonna be tough for you to make place for Mrs. Stranger. Actually, honestly speaking, looks like a skip. You should focus on the Bloodtide lineup. We will pull for Nautica and we will pull for Rihanna. That's 100% guaranteed. So Mrs. Stranger is a little bit in an unfortunate situation here. But yeah, you can play her anywhere. Don't play her in Poison. Don't replace Tuesday. You could do it and play her in the Jessica 6 aka Ramona slot. Sure, you can play or could play Mrs. Grace here. The team is mostly about Willow and Tuesday anyways, so that would work out just fine. Here in the Ultimate Archetype team around Recoleta, you cannot replace Melania, impossible. You could get rid of Getian though. That is definitely a possibility that you can do. And yeah, here is a little bit of interesting territory, because the rank up team is super flexible. And there are even multiple rank up teams in the live stream, in the footage that in the gameplay footage that got presented to us. We saw a team here with Noah, Sabeth, and the new Silverwing Eagle. That is very, very interesting. That is probably a teaser, because Noah should receive her Euphoria update in the near future. And they want us to play Noah then together with Sabeth and Silverwing Eagle. That implies either this is going to be an Ultimate Archetype team, maybe even a rank up team. And very, very good thing here is that both Noah and Sabeth both deal mental damage. So you could slot in Vir here and boom, you have a brand new team. Now you can see the issue, right? Quote unquote issue. We have a 5-star here in this team with Silverwing Eagle. That is a placeholder. You can play it, but it's not the recommended way. So you could put in Argus here and play the team like this. Then you have a follow-up version team with Noah. Probably what her Euphoria is gonna be. It's probably gonna replace Marcus, now that I think about it a little bit more. Maybe it's an Ultimate Archetype team though, we gotta wait and see on that one. And here's also where Mrs. Stranger comes in clutch, because you can either replace Sabeth, or even more recommended, get rid of Argus and play Mrs. Stranger in there. That is also going to be one of the better slot-ins for Mrs. Grace, right? If you don't want to play the team like this, because yeah, you are not fond of Noah and you want to first wait for a Euphoria update and take a look at it, yeah, then play the team with Marcus, right? Mrs. Stranger in it, with Marcus in it, with Silverwing Eagle in it, you know? You have options here. So that's gonna be about it. Mrs. Stranger is gonna be rough. Mrs. Stranger is gonna be rough because she will have a hard time finding a real footing in one of the teams, unless a Euphoria update, like for example Noah's Euphoria update, changes things a little bit. But for the time being, Mrs. Stranger has a rough time, will have a rough time in the metagame in version 3.4. And yeah, the Coppelia scenario, that's the most basic and simple one with Regulus. And if you want, then you can play this with Rihanna, right? Rihanna, very, very, very flexible, can be played anywhere. Don't play her in Dynamo. She's not a follow-up type of character. You can replace Skipperina or even Mercuria here in the impromptu lineup, excuse me. So yeah, to make it as simple as possible, Rihanna in an Afterglow or in Plant Prompto or in Instrument. Best in slots. Number one best in slot is Instrument. Second best place for Rihanna is Plant Prompto, and third best place is Afterglow. The other teams are not recommended to play Rihanna in. But wait a minute, I just noticed something. Maybe this sounds like the same scenario for both Rihanna and Mrs. Grace. Maybe you are now, after you heard me out, like, aren't they pretty much in the same scenario? Aren't they both slottable characters? And that's not something that you want to be in Reverse 1999 anymore. So what about Rihanna? Is she not crushing it? No, right? That is not what I'm saying. Because here, like, even if you would struggle to find a place for Rihanna anywhere, like, she will be most likely, it is 99% guaranteed that she will be the best in slot and the best team in the game, which is Blood Tide. So if you would have trouble finding a place because you have Lawrence Butterfly and Isolde is fine, Beryl, right? You don't want to play Rihanna in Afterglow. and you can't play her in follow-up. You have Sharon, so you don't want to play her in Dynamo. You, as I said, I played a plant prompter with Skip Arena, so yeah, you don't want to replace anyone there either. Instrument, not your cup of tea, so should you then skip Rihanna if you're in that situation? No, right? Because even if you are in that situation, you replace Sentinel then with Rihanna and Bloodtide. The maximum amount of HP that she increases is gonna be better than the bullet from Sentinel. And filling the Bloodtide, Nautica, Semmelweis, Robushka are gonna get the job done. And these insanely broken mechanic of Rihanna giving you an extra turn, that is gonna be way better than anything else, right? So, you know, even though Rihanna is a slottable character, which you don't want to be, yeah, but she takes her slot ability to a whole nother level that we have never seen before, and she comes in with a completely busted mechanic. You will always find a spot for Rihanna, no matter how you spin it, you know? So yeah, don't get me wrong, right? Don't underestimate Rihanna with everything that I've said. Even if you don't like want to play her in instrument or anything, she is still gonna be better, 99% guaranteed, better than Sentinel and the Bloodtide team, and that is gonna be reign supreme as the best team in the game for a very, very, very long time now with Nautica's Euphoria update. So there you go. Pull for Rihanna no matter what, right? Yeah, if you know, the highest priority is of course to establish Bloodtide. If that would cost you so much that you then not could afford Rihanna, whoa, bro, whoa, that would be rough, bro. Like bust out your credit card or something. You really don't want to walk out of version 3.7 without Bloodtide and without Rihanna. You need these things, really, you really want these things, trust me. And yeah, there we go. And that's gonna be it for the team building with the 3 new characters that are gonna be released in version 3.7, which is gonna be our 3rd anniversary. I hope this video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and never forget, we love this game. And again, thanks for loving this game together with me. Peace.